Wife's brutal affair and lies exposed. I found the truth. My nuclear revenge cost her everything. You won't believe her downfall. Okay, Reddit, I need to get this off my chest. My life, the one I built brick by brick over a decade, just imploded. I'm numb, angry, devastated, and honestly, a little unhinged right now. I'm typing this through blurry eyes, trying to make sense of the absolute horror show my marriage has become. 10 years. 10 years with Sarah. We met in college, fell in love, got married, built a home, had all these dreams. She was everything to me, or so I thought. The rock, the partner, my best friend. Now, she's just a stranger who has shattered every single piece of trust one ever put in her. Looking back, the signs were there, subtle at first, like tiny cracks in a dam you choose to ignore because the water still holds. She started getting busy. Really busy. Work meetings running late, weekend retreats with her team, and an almost pathological attachment to her phone. It was always face down, always locked, always within arm's reach. I'd try to cuddle, and she'd pull away, mumbling about being tired, or a headache, or just needing space. My attempts to talk about it were always met with the same dismissive eye roll, or a sharp, "Are you seriously that insecure, Mark? I'm working. Not everything is about you." And yeah, she could be pretty bitchy when she wanted to, but I always rationalized it as stress, or her strong personality. God, I was such an idiot. This past year, it just intensified. Less sex, more arguments, more distance. I told myself it was just a rough patch, that every couple goes through these things. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to fix it. I just didn't know what it really was. Not yet. It all came to a head a few weeks ago. Sarah had this new friend from work, Kevin. She talked about him a lot. How funny he was, how smart, how he just gets her. Initially, I tried to be cool about it. You know, supportive husband. Oh, that's great you found a good colleague. But then the Kevin stories started bleeding into our private time. She'd be on her phone, giggling, and when I'd ask who it was, she'd snap. Just Kevin, about a work thing, Mark. God, can't I even have a private conversation? It wasn't just the giggling. It was the way she'd jump when I walked into the room, quickly flipping the screen, almost instinctively. One Saturday, she said she was going to a conference prep session with Kevin and a few others. She left around 8 a.m., looking meticulously put together, which, honestly, was more effort than she'd put into our dates lately. I was supposed to have a guy's day, but it got canceled. So I spent the morning futzing around the house, feeling a bit lost. Around noon, I decided to tackle the garage. I was moving some old boxes and spotted something on the workbench, her spare car key. Nothing major, but it struck me as odd that she'd leave it, especially when she was driving her own car. And then I saw it. Tucked beneath an old gardening glove was a small, almost empty packet of condoms. The brand was one we never used. My stomach dropped. We hadn't used condoms in years, since we were trying for a baby. The blood drained from my face. My hands started to shake. This wasn't a rough patch. This was something else entirely. I picked up the condom wrapper, my fingers trembling, the cheap plastic crinkling ominously in the sudden silence of the garage. It was like a scene from a bad movie, but it was my life. My mind raced, trying to find any explanation, any innocent explanation. Maybe she found it. Maybe it was old. But the brand, the half-used packet, it just screamed recent. The cold dread seeped into my bones, a feeling I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I kept picturing her, all dolled up, going to her conference prep session. With Kevin, I tried to call her. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. Panic started to set in, but it was quickly replaced by a simmering rage. I paced the house, the condom wrapper clutched in my hand, feeling like I was going to explode. Every sweet memory, every shared laugh, every promise felt like a sickening lie. She finally walked in around 6 p.m., bright and cheerful, humming a tune. "Hey babe, how was your day?" She chirped, completely oblivious. Or so I thought. I just stared at her, unable to speak, the wrapper still clenched in my fist. Her eyes flickered to my hand, and her smile faltered. The color drained from her face. "What's that, Mark?" Her voice was suddenly thin, reedy. I just held it up. "What's this, Sarah? Because last I checked, we haven't needed these in about 5 years. And these definitely aren't ours." Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape. Her face hardened almost instantly. Oh, that? Seriously, Mark? You're freaking out about that? I found it in an old purse. Must have been from college, and tossed it in the garage. God, you are so dramatic. She rolled her eyes, but her hands were shaking slightly. It was a pathetic lie, and we both knew it. My heart was pounding, a painful drumbeat against my ribs. This wasn't college. This was now, and she was lying through her teeth. Her denial, her immediate shift to anger, it was like a slap in the face. College? Sarah, it's a half-empty pack. It's a brand we've never used, and it was just under a gardening glove I moved today. Don't insult my intelligence. My voice was a low growl, barely recognizable to myself. The rage was starting to boil over, but I was trying desperately to keep a lid on it, to stay rational. I just needed the truth. She scoffed, a truly magnificent performance of indignant betrayal. You're accusing me? After 10 years? Of cheating? Mark, you've completely lost your mind. I can't believe you would even think such a thing. Is this what our marriage has come to? You rummaging through my things, making up fantasies? She started pacing, her voice rising, trying to turn the tables, make me the villain. The classic gaslighting maneuver, but I was past the point of falling for it. Don't you dare try to spin this on me, Sarah. You've been distant, secretive, glued to your phone, suddenly busy all the time, and now I find this. Just tell me, Sarah, who is it? Is it Kevin? The name hung in the air, a poisonous dart. Her eyes widened, a flicker of genuine shock, quickly replaced by a furious mask. Kevin, are you insane? He's a colleague. My friend. You're projecting your insecurities onto my professional relationships. This is pathetic, Mark. I can't even believe I'm having this conversation. I need space from your paranoia. She stormed off towards our bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. The sound echoed through the house, a definitive end to any pretense of an honest conversation. My hands clenched into fists. My jaw ached. The sickening realization hit me like a physical blow. She wasn't just hiding something. She was a master manipulator, and she had just confirmed my worst fears with her dramatic, over-the-top denial. The truth was staring me in the face, and it was uglier than I could have ever imagined. That night was a blur of excruciating pain and raw emotion. I just sat on the couch, staring at the closed bedroom door, the silence amplifying the deafening roar in my head. My entire world had been built on the foundation of trust with Sarah, and now that foundation was crumbling into dust. The shock was immense, but it quickly gave way to a burning anger, a sense of profound betrayal that was almost physical. It felt like someone had literally reached into my chest and ripped out my heart, then stomped on it. I couldn't sleep. Every memory, every sweet whispered promise, every shared laugh, it all twisted into something ugly and painful. I replayed conversations, scrutinizing her words, her expressions, searching for the tells I had been too naive, too trusting, to see before. The way she'd glance at her phone, the sudden late nights, the vague excuses, all of it now clicked into place, forming a horrific mosaic of deceit. The sadness was a heavy, suffocating blanket. We had talked about having kids, about growing old together, about our future. All of it was tainted, shattered. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was a stranger, a liar, a cheat. The emotional impact was catastrophic. It wasn't just losing a wife. It was losing my best friend, my confidant, my entire future as I had envisioned it. There was a hollow ache in my chest that wouldn't go away. I felt foolish, utterly humiliated, and profoundly alone, even though I was technically in my own home. The anger and the sadness wrestled inside me, leaving me exhausted but too wired to rest. This wasn't just a bump in the road. This was a nuclear bomb dropped on my life. I knew, with a terrifying certainty, that nothing would ever be the same again. And I still didn't have the whole truth. For more in-depth stories and advice, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video on YouTube. Your support helps me share these experiences. The next morning, the air in the house was thick with unspoken accusations and resentment. Sarah emerged from the bedroom, looking surprisingly refreshed, as if I was the one who had caused all the drama. She walked past me without a word, poured herself a coffee, and sat at the kitchen island, scrolling through her phone. The audacity of it, the complete lack of remorse, almost made me choke on my own anger. I finally found my voice, ragged and strained. We need to talk, Sarah. You can't just pretend nothing happened." She sighed dramatically, not even looking up from her phone. "Mark, I've already told you, you're overreacting about a stupid old condom wrapper. I'm not having this conversation again. I have a really important meeting today." That was it. That was the last straw. The casual dismissal, the continued lying, the absolute indifference to my pain. Something snapped inside me. "Oh, you have an important meeting? With Kevin, I assume?" My voice was colder than I thought possible. Her head shot up, her eyes narrowing. "What are you even talking about? How do you know about Kevin's meeting? Are you spying on me?" She was still trying to twist it, still trying to make me the bad guy. "No, Sarah, I'm not spying. But I'm also not an idiot. You think I haven't noticed? The whispers, the late nights, the sudden friends from work? You think I'm blind?" I stood up, my hands trembling. "I'm going to ask you one more time. Tell me the truth. All of it. Now. Or don't bother coming home." Her face went pale. The phone clattered to the counter as she finally met my gaze. The bravado melted away, replaced by a flicker of fear. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again, a strangled sound escaping her throat. It was then that I knew, with absolute certainty, that my worst fears were true. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating, as she finally realized she was cornered. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity, thick with her unspoken confession. Her shoulders slumped, and she finally, looked away from my gaze, staring down at her coffee mug. It's not what you think," she mumbled, a pathetic attempt to soften the blow. "Oh, really? Because right now, what I think is that you've been sleeping with Kevin. Am I wrong?" My voice was devoid of emotion, a dangerous calm settling over me. She flinched. "Okay, yes. Fine. It happened. But it was just a mistake. A moment of weakness. It meant nothing, Mark, I swear." Her voice was barely a whisper now, completely lacking the usual bitchy bravado. The sudden shift was almost as sickening as the lie itself. "A mistake?" I echoed, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "A half-empty packet of condoms sounds like more than a moment of weakness, Sarah. How long has this mistake been going on?" She wrung her hands. "A few months. Since the new project started. He was just understanding. And you've been so distant." She tried to shift the blame again, a flicker of her old self returning, but it was weak. "Distant? I've been trying to talk to you, Sarah. I've been trying to figure out what was wrong, and you shut me down every single time. You lied to my face, you gaslight me. You made me feel like I was insane for even suspecting anything." The calm I had felt earlier shattered, replaced by a fresh wave of fury. "And it meant nothing? You think I'm going to believe that after seeing how you've been with him, how you've been with me? You've treated me like garbage for months, Sarah. Garbage." She started to cry, real tears this time, or at least they seemed real. "I'm so sorry, Mark. I messed up. I really did. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please, can we fix this? I love you, I really do." The words felt hollow, a desperate attempt to save herself. But it was too late. Way too late. The damage was done. And the brutal part was just beginning to formulate in my mind. Her apology and the sudden declaration of love felt like a sick joke, another lie layered onto the mountain of deceit. My rage, initially fiery, had now settled into something cold and hard. "You love me," I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "No, Sarah. You love what I provide. You love the comfortable life. You love yourself." I watched her cry, watched her play the victim, and felt absolutely nothing but a chilling emptiness. The sadness was still there, a dull ache, but it was being rapidly overshadowed by a calculated resolve. "Fix this," I continued, my voice dangerously soft. "You think you can just apologize and everything goes back to normal? After you gaslight me, after you consistently chose him over me, after you made me doubt my own sanity? You think I can just magically forget the image of you with him, or the fact that you lied to my face for months?" She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away sharply. "Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me." The disgust was palpable. My mind was racing, not with anguish anymore, but with a terrifying clarity. The emotional impact was no longer about hurt. It was about injustice, about a profound violation that demanded more than just tears and empty apologies. This wasn't something to be worked through. This was a complete and utter breach of everything we were, everything I believed in. I stood there, staring at her, this stranger who had hijacked my life. My mind was already moving past the pain, past the anger, and towards a very specific kind of resolution. The betrayal was too deep, too fundamental. There was no going back. The woman weeping in front of me was not my wife anymore. She was the enemy, and I felt a chilling calm settle over me as I started to consider my next moves. The question wasn't if I would seek revenge, but how. And it would be brutal. The decision solidified in that moment, cold and hard. There would be no working on the marriage, no counseling, no second chances. The Sarah weeping in front of me was gone, replaced by a calculating adversary. The idea of brutal revenge, which had been a fleeting, angry thought, began to take root and blossom into a very real, very tangible plan. I wasn't going to yell or scream or even engage in a messy fight. I was going to be strategic. I was going to make her pay. "Get out," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Her head snapped up. "What? Mark, no? Please. Where would I go?" "I don't care," I stated, picking up her phone from the counter and tossing it onto the table. "You have exactly 1 hour to pack a bag. Anything you can carry. After that, I'm changing the locks. You can come back with a police escort and a lawyer to get anything else." Her face contorted in disbelief, then anger. "You can't do this. This is my home too." It was, I corrected, a dark satisfaction blooming in my chest. "Now it's just my home, and I suggest you make that call to Kevin. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to put you up." The implication hung heavy in the air. She gasped, but I cut her off. 1 hour. After that, you're out. And if you cause any trouble, if you so much as raise your voice, I'll call the police myself. I have a feeling they'd be very interested in the details of your mistake." I gestured vaguely towards the kitchen, implying the condom wrapper, the lies, everything. The unspoken threat hung in the air, a chilling promise of legal entanglements and public humiliation. Her defiance crumpled. The fear in her eyes was real now. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She turned, defeated, and stumbled towards the bedroom. I watched her go, the satisfaction warring with the profound ache of loss. But the resolve was stronger. This was just the beginning. And Kevin? He was next on my list. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video on YouTube. Your support means the world and helps me continue to share these raw stories. She actually did it. 1 hour later, she emerged from the bedroom with a single duffel bag, her eyes red and swollen. She tried one last desperate plea. "Mark, please, don't do this. Think about everything we have." "I am thinking about everything," I retorted, not bothering to look at her. "And all I see is you destroying it." I had already called a locksmith while she was packing, scheduling him for an emergency change of all the locks for later that afternoon. My phone was also silently recording our conversation, just in case. I wasn't leaving anything to chance. She stood there for a moment, defeated, then slowly walked towards the front door. "I'll be back with a lawyer, Mark," she said, her voice shaking, trying to regain some semblance of control. "Be my guest," I replied calmly, watching her open the door. As she stepped out, I added, "Oh, and by the way, I just sent a rather lengthy, detailed email to your entire department, including HR and your boss. You know, just a friendly heads up about the team building you and Kevin have been doing. I even attached a few screenshots from your phone that I managed to grab last night. You know, the ones with Kevin's love notes. They should find them quite enlightening." Her head snapped back, her eyes wide with horror. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The blood drained from her face, leaving it ashen. She looked like she was about to collapse. That was the moment. That was the first true sting of brutal revenge. The humiliation, the professional ruin. It hit her harder than any emotional plea ever could. She stumbled backwards, trying to find words, but all that came out was a choked gasp. I simply closed the door in her face, the click of the lock echoing with a satisfying finality. The initial blast of the nuclear bomb was over, but the fallout had just begun. I stood by the door for a minute, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through me. The silence in the house was deafening, but it was a different kind of silence now, not the oppressive quiet of deceit, but the heavy calm after a storm. I leaned my head against the cool wood of the door, taking deep, shaky breaths. The satisfaction I felt was grim, not exhilarating, but it was there, a cold comfort in the raw wound of betrayal. The next few days were a blur of legal calls, preparing for the inevitable. Her lawyer called, aggressive and demanding. My lawyer, a calm, seasoned professional, just smiled and said, "Let them come. We have everything we need." The screenshots, the recorded conversation, the clear timeline of her deception, it was all airtight. Sarah's career, as I later found out through a sympathetic colleague, was indeed in tatters. HR had launched an internal investigation, and Kevin, her partner in crime, was also facing serious repercussions. The schadenfreude was real, a bitter tonic for my wounded pride. But despite the fleeting moments of triumph, the emotional journey was far from over. The house felt empty, too big for one person. Memories lingered in every corner, ghostly whispers of a life that no longer existed. The initial shock and anger gave way to waves of profound sadness, a deep, aching grief for the future I had lost, the person I thought Sarah was. I found myself staring blankly at walls, replaying moments, questioning everything. Was it all a lie? Was she ever truly happy with me? The acceptance wasn't a sudden revelation. It was a slow, painful crawl. Acceptance that my marriage was over, that the woman I loved was a stranger, and that I had to rebuild my life from scratch. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and utterly exhausting all at once. As the initial chaos subsided, a different kind of anger started to simmer, an anger at myself for being so blind, so trusting. I spent weeks in a fog, going through the motions, but inside, I was a wreck. Sleep was fitful, haunted by fragments of memories and nightmares of betrayal. Food tasted like cardboard. My friends rallied around me, a true testament to who stuck around when things got tough. They listened, they brought food, they even just sat in silence with me when I couldn't articulate the whirlwind of emotions. That support was crucial. I started therapy, something I never thought I'd need. It was hard, painful work, digging through years of shared history and unraveling the threads of deceit. The therapist helped me process the rage, the grief, the humiliation, and slowly, very slowly, start to reframe my perspective. I learned that what Sarah did wasn't a reflection of my worth, but a reflection of her own character flaws. That was a huge turning point. It wasn't my fault. The divorce proceedings were messy, as expected, but Sarah was on the defensive. Her professional reputation was indeed ruined, and Kevin had actually been fired. The emotional toll on her, ironically, seemed significant, judging by her desperate attempts to contact me, to talk things over, to apologize properly. I ignored every single one. There was nothing left to say. My lawyer handled everything. I wanted a clean break, and I was determined to get it. The house, my sanctuary, became my focus. I started renovating, stripping away the old, making it unequivocally mine. It was cathartic, literally rebuilding my space as I tried to rebuild myself. This wasn't about revenge anymore, not in the brutal sense, but about reclaiming my life, brick by painful brick. The divorce finalized a few months later. It was surprisingly quick, given the circumstances. Sarah's legal team tried to fight for a lot, but between my evidence of her affair and the documented professional repercussions, her credibility was shot. I kept the house, a testament to my effort and foresight, and she got a relatively small settlement. It was less than she'd hoped for, and frankly, less than she deserved if she'd been a faithful wife, but it felt right. Justice, in its own way. The moment the papers were signed, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The anger had largely dissipated, replaced by a quiet melancholy. The brutal revenge phase was over. She had paid a heavy price, professionally and financially. Her reputation was in tatters, and her relationship with Kevin, predictably, didn't last long after the dust settled. Turns out, betrayal and public humiliation aren't great foundations for a new romance. I spent the next year focusing entirely on myself. I dove back into hobbies I'd neglected, traveled, and reconnected with old friends. I dated a little, very casually, but I wasn't ready for anything serious. The trust issues were deep, a chasm I knew would take time to bridge. I worked on forgiving myself for being blind, for giving so much to someone who ultimately wasn't worthy of it. It was a long, arduous process, one that challenged every preconceived notion I had about love and loyalty. But with each passing day, the shadows grew a little shorter, and the future began to look a little brighter. I was learning to be happy again, not despite what happened, but because I had survived it. And that, in itself, was a victory. Reflecting on everything, it's hard to encapsulate the sheer magnitude of the emotional roller coaster. From the initial, gut-wrenching shock to the calculated, brutal revenge, and finally, to this place of quiet rebuilding. What I've learned is that betrayal leaves a deeper scar than almost anything else. It strips away your sense of reality, makes you question your judgment, and frankly, makes you wary of trusting anyone ever again. But here's the kicker, and this is the advice I'd offer to anyone going through something similar. Don't let their ugliness infect your soul. My initial rage and desire for brutal revenge were understandable, a necessary release in that moment. It helped me regain a sense of control when my world had spun out of it. But I also realized that clinging to that anger, living in that bitterness, would only hurt me in the long run. My revenge was quick, decisive, and had its intended effect, allowing me to then move past it. I didn't let it fester into a lifelong grudge. The real work began after the dust settled. It was about choosing to heal, to forgive myself, and eventually, to forgive her, not for her sake, but for mine. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing her actions. It means releasing the hold her actions have on your peace of mind. It means understanding that her choices were hers, not a reflection of my worth. I'm not going to lie, it still hurts sometimes. There are days when the memories sting, but those days are fewer and farther between. I'm stronger, wiser, and more resilient than I ever thought possible. I learned the hard way that you can't control what others do, but you can control how you react, and whether you let their darkness consume your light. So, for anyone out there experiencing this kind of profound betrayal, feel the anger, take your stand, but then, for your own sake, choose to heal. Choose yourself, because you're worth fighting for. And hey, if you found this story helpful or just need to know you're not alone, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video on YouTube. Every bit of support helps. Thank you for listening. My therapist, bless her pragmatic soul, often reminded me that the brutal part of my revenge, while satisfying in the moment, was ultimately a means to an end. It wasn't about continuing to punish Sarah. It was about protecting myself and securing my future. Once the immediate fallout was dealt with, the eviction, the career hit, the legal groundwork, I had to consciously pivot from retribution to recovery. That shift was harder than I anticipated. For a while, every decision felt tainted by the past. Should I trust this new person? Is this situation too good to be true? The constant vigilance was exhausting. I started journaling, pouring out the raw, unfiltered emotions, the doubts, the fears. It was messy, often ugly, but it was a vital release. I revisited places Sarah and I had loved, initially feeling a pang of sorrow, but slowly, deliberately, creating new memories there, alone or with friends. I reclaimed them. The local coffee shop, our favorite hiking trail, the park bench where we used to talk for hours. They gradually ceased to be monuments to a lost love and became places of quiet reflection and new beginnings. I also made a conscious effort to rebuild my social circle, not just the friends who rallied, but expanding it. New faces, new perspectives, people who had no history with Sarah or our marriage. It was refreshing to just be Mark, not Mark whose wife cheated. These new connections helped ground me, reminding me that there was a vast, exciting world beyond the confines of my broken marriage. It wasn't about replacing Sarah, but about rediscovering myself and finding new sources of joy and connection. The journey was long, and sometimes I stumbled, but I kept moving forward.